Welcome to Shooting the Shift with Marilyn and Elizabeth. These light warriors, both native New Yorkers, walk their walk, talk their talk, and keep the real in the deal. This dynamic duo joined forces to assist you through your transformational journey one step at a time, empowering you with spiritual tools you can use in your daily life. Each show begins as a conversation creating an opening for spiritual connection. There are never any scripts, and Spirit is always illuminating the way. And that's when the shift hits the fan. The magical messages of the ancestors, spirit guides, and Gaia are respected, honored, and always given sacred space to communicate. Join Marilyn and Elizabeth as they shake shift up and do what they do best, speak from their hearts.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are, we greet you. And this is Miss Elizabeth and
Marilyn Maldonado. Welcome.
Miss Marilyn. Okay, welcome everybody. Marilyn, are you ready to shoot the shift today?
I sure am.
That's fantastic. So, spring is in the air here in Colorado. It's beautiful. We finally, I think, hit that part where we don't have to worry about the snow anymore, but we are in a desert. We do need lots of moisture, so I'm hoping that we get April showers. But spring is full force here, and I love this time of year. I was talking to you about outside when I look out my window as we're doing our show. I have two little birdhouses, and the chickadees are back, and I have one little fat chickadee sitting on there going, "Hey, sweetie." That's her call for mating. And another one going in and out of the house going, "Is this a good place to lay my eggs?" And I'm like, "Yes, it is. It's a very good place." So I'm excited. I feel a pep in my step. I know the energies have been, I think we just need to stop saying that things are shifting and transforming, because I think that's the new normal. But spring is here.
It is.
Spring has sprung. Has it sprung in your neck of the woods?
Well, we've had some interesting weather here. We had 70 degrees and then we had 50 something. So it's like, it's fluctuating, it feels like
shifty.
The times actually, right? Yeah. And it feels like the times that we're moving through right now. So, we're in and out, right? And, we're spiraling and we're going around in circles sometimes. And so the weather's doing just about the same thing.
Yes, and I'm getting ready to go on a trip to the United Kingdom for a month in June, in case you are not sick of me telling you yet. And, people are like, well, it's very rainy there. So I have a rain poncho, I have a regular poncho. And I'm like, are you kidding? In June, I'm never too cold. I'm always too hot. I'm a hot girl. So it's hard for me to I have to pack for a month. So it's really hard for me to be like, how many layers do I bring in June? Because June here is so hot. So yeah, I don't know, but everything is exciting for me right now. I'm like that little bud on the lavender tree going boop. I'm a bloomin'.
And that I know for sure.
I know because you've heard about it. So we do want, and you know what? Thank you for holding that space for me, Marilyn, because you're one of the few people that have been very, I haven't been very public about my trip until very recently, but you have known and seen me since the beginning of this year getting ready and excited and holding space for me and helping me, by being supportive and listening and giving me advice when I oh, did you think of this? Or, oh, did you think of that? And that's our topic today, how we hold space for other people. So I did want to read the most eloquent thing that you wrote because it's a good description. So I'm just going to read it. It says, join Marilyn and Elizabeth as they discuss the power of holding sacred space. How to choose those who will have the honor and the privilege to hear our stories. Choosing a confidant or a community of like-minded people who honor, love, and respect each other unconditionally. And that is such a key word. creating a safe space to be heard without judgment or criticism. It's a privilege to be called to hold sacred space for another, and trust is a major factor in the equation. And as always, we would love for you to call in if you so desire for anything that you like, comments or next step guidance. 202-570-7052. Is that right, Marilyn?
Yes.
202-570-7052. All right.
57. Sorry. 202-570-7057.
57. Okay,
Yes.
so that's me.
And
Little
we
Miss
welcome
Speedy.
all callers.
Yes, little Miss Speedy Gemini rising, not crossing her 7, so it looks like a 2. That's so typical of me.
Yeah.
So that's why I knew I was supposed
good.
to ask you, did I have it right?
There you go.
So,
So-
yeah, I think it's a big topic today, and I think as everything we talk about, it comes in waves and shifts where we show up in our lives, who shows up for us, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the topic of creating sacred space for another and choosing your person or persons feels good, especially in these times, right? Because there's a huge amount of trauma in the world and it affects us all. So knowing that we have a selected person or group that we can share our feelings and emotional supercharges with is a true blessing. It's really a true blessing if we have that person, that we can, just offload or just, talk or just have somebody just sitting there with us, right?
That's right.
That's,
For example, like I get hit with waves of emotion, and all of a sudden I can be like extremely sad and I'll be crying. And it's not even my stuff. It's like the collective, and I'll have picked it up and I can feel it. And like my friend Marcy is the same way. She's a spirit artist, and we're both, in the same group of people. And I can tell her, yeah, I'm just feeling a bit emotional today, Marcy, and I can dab my little tears and I can feel them. And she will say, yeah, I know, And I could tell somebody else, very good-natured person, and they'd be
Right.
like, oh, how can I make that better for you? Or, it will pass. Or it's funny because there's certain people that kind of get the stuff you're processing, and then there's certain people that are going to try and make you feel better or make it okay. And for a long time, I had only people that wanted to make it okay or make it go away. Now I have people who go, well, why are you feeling that way? Let it out. Feel what you feel. Oh, really? Let's dive into that. You're one of those people, of course, Marilyn. But that's a good thing because it's a reflection of my growth as a human, where I have now brought people into my life where I don't feel like an alien in a strange land, although I do feel like that often, but I do feel like I have people that kind of hold space for me or support me in a way that I never had in my life until about 5 years ago. And I'm really grateful for that. I would say the key thing for me, if anybody's listening out there wondering, like, how do you find those people? For a long time, I just assumed everyone was like me and would show up like me. And even though they hadn't for a long time. And when you realize that there's certain people that are on your same frequency and see what you're going through, that they can hold the space for you and not try and make it okay or change it, but allow you to have that moment, right? That's
Right.
what I'm trying to get to. Allowing
Yeah.
you to have that space where you can feel what you feel without them trying to solve it or resolve it, right?
Right, and there'll be people out there who are also wondering, what does it mean to hold sacred space for another, right?
Yeah.
It's being available to listen, to provide support, to create a space where the person knows they are not alone in the energy of their experience. It's holding sacred space for another is making time to honor the person through their experience, providing a safe space for them to cry, to scream, to rant, to speak their feelings out loud, and knowing that within the space, the words spoken it will never leave that space outside, right? So in other words, you're not
Confidence.
taking that experience and sharing it with the world. It's only in that vacuum, and it never leaves. It's a judgment-free zone where the person knows they're being held, protected, honored, loved, and treasured in their fullness, unconditionally. It's not about reasoning, and it's about the journey of the emotional experience and the support that is present and available through it. Because that's important, because a lot of times people think that you have to more or less give information or give direction, or sometimes all we have to do is just sit and be silent and just hold that space, right?
That's
There is
right.
power and freedom in knowing that you can fire up all the emotions, the stories, understandings, beliefs, and that you're safe and protected in your sharing.
I
I
think,
believe that Go
sorry,
ahead.
sweetheart. I see you
No, go ahead.
looking at something there. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I took my eyes away for a minute.
Well, I think for me, I'll always talk about me when I feel comfortable talking about me. I ain't going to tell you everything out there. But I will say, for me, there were pieces of my family that your vulnerabilities or confidences or your weaknesses could be used against you. And so that's a hard thing for somebody to kind of reel themselves in and see where people are supporting you, because every time maybe you confided in the wrong people, the rug got pulled out from you or it was used against you, and that was just coming up when you were talking about how important that confidence and that confidentiality is, and being really mindful of who are you trusting with your information. I mean, you
Right,
have to
because
be
not
the first
everybody has the
person.
privilege. Not
That's
everybody
right.
gets the privilege,
It is a
right?
privilege.
To sit in your space with you, as well as you sitting in their space,
Yes.
holding sacred space together.
Yeah. And I've had other times where I could share something, um, and then the dynamics changed because I felt like I was seen as the weaker person, or that I was seen as somebody that was more vulnerable because of what I had shared. So I'm just trying to show like some of the traps that have happened to people in the past. I can only share from my own experience. And for me, I really had to see and be in observation mode and neutrality how I felt those people treated other people before I confided in them, right?
Yes, and that's the
And that
key.
was key.
Because if you see another, I mean, talking about someone else's experiences and sharing other people's stories, well, you may not be wanting to share your story, or you may not want to be vulnerable with that person, simply because that person isn't going to hold, the energy of the
Sacred
sacred
space.
silence, right? Where you're just
Yeah.
sitting, listening, and not taking it all in, just allowing the purging. Because this is all about, a lot of times, it's also about allowing the person, giving that person that safety, that protective netting, so that they can purge, so that they can release
Hmm.
the emotional supercharged energies that are living and breathing within them.
I love the
And if
idea of the the netting because it does hold you. It does hold you in a space of being held, but it gives you the freedom at the same time. It's a beautiful word.
Yeah, it's important. It's important to choose the right person or the right people to share, and to know who you can actually purge and be vulnerable with, knowing that you have the safety net, knowing that you have the protection, that it is not going to go outside of these, four walls, let's say. I mean, it's sometimes you're walking and talking, sometimes you're just sitting and just sharing information. So it just, the power is in the...
Sometimes you're just bawling in a puddle.
Yeah, and that's okay too. And that's okay
right.
too, because I really believe that when we're able to express those emotional, supercharged emotions, then it creates an opening. And then it allows us to it's almost like a little breakthrough moment where we're able to then tap in to the releasing of that surge, the energy that just needed to move out of the body.
I'm going to share something. When I was a little girl, I may have shared this before, but I don't really care. It's kind of, would make people maybe feel vulnerable sharing it, but I don't care because I know it gave me strength and breakthroughs, like you said. But when I was quite young, when I was 8, I had dyslexia, and nobody knew that I had dyslexia. Nobody knew why I couldn't do the basic fractions. All of a sudden I was really lost in school, and I was a misfit, and I would get so upset. I had one critical parent that wanted me to be perfect, but I had a lot of pressure on me, and I didn't understand what was wrong with me, and I would have these bouts of frustration where I would really be hysterical because I didn't know what to do. And my mother would literally run a cold bath and put me in a cold bathtub, and it would immediately calm me down and put me back in my body. And then she would say, now what's going on? What is going on? Take some deep breaths. And what she did, it may not sound like that was a lovely, nurturing thing to do, but for me, it worked. Because what she did was she got me back in my body, and she got me back in my center and let all the crazy out of me. And then I could have that safe space where I could say, I'm so frustrated. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. Eventually, of course, they figured out I had dyslexia. But it was that she had the tenacity to do something extreme that would shock me back into my body, that brought me back to my ability to express myself. And that at a very young, I'm so grateful to her for that, because that is the only thing that helped me until I figured out I had dyslexia, and then I could work with that, right? But before I could, it's almost like Helen Keller when she couldn't speak, she couldn't express herself, and all of that, right? Everybody knows that story, at least in America. But that was her holding sacred space for me. Do you think my mother wanted to run a cold bath and throw her kid in cold bath? Of course not. But for whatever reason, she figured out that that's what worked for me. And I felt very vulnerable at that time. So for whatever reason, I felt called to share that, because it did break me out of that, and I felt safe enough with her, right?
Yeah. Shocked right back in.
Yeah, exactly. I think sometimes we're so misunderstood in this world, especially when we're young. So you guys, we're going to head off to a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk more about holding sacred space for ourselves and our friends.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
That commercial cracks me up so much because that cat orders egg rolls, and every once in a while, I won't say her name, the electronic tube behind me, she'll be like, I don't know the answer to that. And I'm like, I wasn't asking you anything. So it's just funny because I know kids have ordered stuff on Amazon and it just shows up. We live in such a bizarre world. But anyway, welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yeah. I just feel it's important that it's not a trauma for me anymore. At the time it was, of course it was, but I am now a grown adult and I still have dyslexia, and so did Einstein. So did Winston Churchill. I just think I'm lucky that that's part of who I am. But at the time it was hard. So I like to share that story because it's a way that I can share my vulnerability without being vulnerable to the world, and share, an instance of how someone held sacred space for me again and again and again. This was a process. It wasn't a one-time thing. So, and honestly, when I lost my mom, she was my rock. That really shook me up too. It really made me see how it was a part of me that my sacred space was taken from me. Honestly, I'm just thinking of this right now as we're talking on the radio, that was one person, and that's why the grief is so hard, the loss is so hard, because I had this person that was always had sacred space for me, and then I had to find other ways, right, as really a middle-aged woman, as if, menopause and everything else isn't cruel enough. But, it's just like reverse puberty. It's just
for many of us, we're fortunate enough to know that, or to have had, right, a parent or parents who held sacred space for us.
That's right.
When I got older, I felt that my mother was more, how would I say, like my confidant. I could speak to her about just about anything and everything. And she listened. And she gave me advice at times. And she would always end it with, but you choose. You choose your way. Which I thought was very powerful. It's very powerful. Because she didn't... she didn't enforce anything. She didn't, say to me, no, this is the only way, and you're going to do it this way. And so I feel really, truly blessed by having, my mom being that person, right? But the other thing is that...
I truly believe if our mothers are sitting there on a park bench somewhere having a sandwich or an empanada or whatever, and they're just sitting there looking at us, I truly believe they like each other very much. Because I feel they had some similarities, as different as they were. They wanted their kids to be their own people and to be happy and be empowered, right? And,
right. The other thing is that when we are going to talk about things that impact our lives and are kind of like where we feel so vulnerable, there will be those moments and those times, because I know that I didn't do that with my mom. Like, I didn't tell her the things that I thought that would, cause her, pain or anguish or anything like that, because I just wanted her to be okay. And the other thing is that I always felt that those are things that I had to deal with, and didn't really want to be sharing with anybody, because didn't really know whether anybody was really going to fully understand, how I was feeling. But I also learned over time that it is important to have someone that you can speak to that will hear you, that actually hears you, and you can be real with. Because when we don't have that, then the only thing we're doing is holding on to it, and then we're not exploring any of it if we're not speaking it out, if we're not, communicating. And I'm a self-talker. I mean, I talk to myself all the time, and I give myself advice as well. But that's a whole different thing.
What about self-soother? Are you a self-soother, Marilyn?
Yes, I take very good care of myself.
Were you always a self-soother? Because I feel like I'm in the beginning of the self-soothing. I think you've mastered that a lot more.
I think I took very good care of myself because it was important and it was necessary and it's survival, right? So it was when I didn't understand or I didn't get it right, I, of course, probably got very, how would I say, judgmental and criticized myself, but I also pulled myself back from it and gave myself okay, so that happened. And so now what, because I just never wanted to get stuck. Now, did I get stuck in stuff? Of course I did. Because, when you're living a life, you're going to get stuck in stuff. You just are. It just happens. But along the way, I was learning. And then people were coming into my life that, I had such a connection with, and that I felt safe and protected. And I felt that, I joined groups that had like-minded, people, and we took to create this beautiful community, where we can talk about stuff. I know that I have so many, I'm blessed because I can pick up the phone and I can call so many people, and talk about what it is that I'm feeling, and they will sit and listen, or they'll say to me, how about you want to take a walk? Let's take a walk. The same I do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I provide that as well, because I think it's important for us to be able to say, so you want to take a walk? Because we can walk and talk, or we can walk and I can listen, or we can just sit together. And allow the processing to happen. And when we have people like that in our lives, I mean, those are gems, right? That is the blessing. And it's just like, my goodness, I don't even know how to say other than it's such a blessing and such a gift. And to always be thankful and grateful, because I am in full gratitude for those who are in my life who provide that experience for me, and that I know that are available for me through my difficult times. They've been there through times that have could have taken me out, right? And they were always there, providing this experience for me in whatever way I wanted it to be, which I think is important as well, right? Because when you have someone who's holding sacred space for you, they're making room for you to explore, right?
Or
for you to explore.
Or explode. Sorry, that's what came.
Yeah, to have your it's to have your moment.
That's right, meltdown, whatever it is. But I also want to say what's coming up for me while you're talking is, I think you agree with me on this. I'm just gonna say that. But my job is not to go around and go, how are you? How are you? How are you? Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? Especially in the work we do, it's really important that we are approached, not that we're reaching out. But I do have a few key people that I know are on my radar at all times. One will remain nameless, who, can go in a little rabbit hole and turn into like a little hibernating bunny. And I go, oh, it's time to go check on that little rabbit hole and make sure that person's okay, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I do it often, but I do have a few people that I know when something's a little off and they need just a little, tug, knock on the rabbit hole door. Okay, you still good? You're all right? You need something? The check-in.
Yeah, I do that. I do the checking in text.
That's
right. Or the checking in phone call where I'll say checking in, but usually I get the hits. Usually I get a hit like all of a sudden somebody's name pops in and I'm going, wow, why am I doing that? And it's almost like give that person a call or text that person or say hello. Yes. And so I will reach out. And usually the person will say to me, my goodness,
how do
you know to call me at a specific time, right?
That's
right. But that's because we're so tuned in, right? We're so tuned in, especially with those that we love so much.
Yeah. And I was going to say that's really important for me. That's part of my holding, I call it my invisible halo. I'm not doing it because I want the recognition or I want to be, the gal that's always there and people know that. I'm doing it because I love this person and I care about them and I get lost in my own little rabbit holes and my own little creative spurts and bursts and my radio show and my trip to Europe, and it's really easy to get very self-absorbed. And with this time feeling like there's 7 hours in a 24-hour day, that's how fast it's going. So it's really important that I stop and I just I do my prayers every day. I do my intentions for those people, but I do keep them in the back of my mind. I have that, and I think that's part of holding sacred space. I'm not saying you do that for everyone, but you have the core people, and I wanted to put that out there. Because I know that I have people who do that too. They'll just be like, where have you been? I haven't talked to you for a month and a half, and you just say, I'm good. I'm so good, actually. That's why you haven't talked. There's nothing. And it means the world to you to know that they notice that your presence is not as present, even if it's for a good reason.
Yeah. Because, you also want to know that that others are also thinking of you as you think of them as well. Yeah. Part of that is being human, right? We kind of like the understanding that it doesn't always have to be me calling you. Maybe it's nice if you called me every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think there's a stereotype out there where, listen, I know for a long time I was the one that wasn't thought of, wasn't called, because I'm the strong one. I'm the one who keeps everyone together. I'm the one who can handle everything, and that's great. And yes, that is who I am, but that doesn't mean I don't have issues. That doesn't mean I don't misstep. That doesn't mean I don't need things. And it's usually those people that show up and go, hey, are you okay? And it's like nobody else thinks to ask that. Those are my people. Those are my people that are holding space for me. And it's not about a judgment. I don't expect everyone to do it. But sometimes I think it's easy to think that, the light warriors or the light workers have it all together and that they don't need anything. And nothing could be further from the truth. Of course, it's up to us to say, I need help. I need to move this, shift this. And, Marilyn, I do that with you all the time. I'd be like, I got this going on. And I got to shift it. You got to help me, please, right? We have to be able to ask.
Yeah, if we don't ask, we cannot receive, right? Because this is the nature, right? There is no me stepping in without being asked.
Overstepping, yeah.
Right? Because then I'm overstepping. And then
that's right.
I'm not allowing you the freedom of your own experience. Mm-hmm. And that's really important to remember. A lot of times people overstep. And it's not a good thing.
To fix. You're not fixing anything. That's a big thing in our society. Fixing. Like, can you fix me?
And there's really no such thing. There's really no such thing as fixing anything. There's just an understand. There's a new understanding of what it is or what it was. The experience changes. The experience that you perceived or experience changes in its definition or its meaning.
Yep.
So it's really not fixing anything. It's about the new perspective around the old experience or the current experience. And to be able to hold sacred space means you're there, you're present. You don't have to say a word, but the person can feel the love that is vibrating in that space and is able to move through whatever energies need to surface so that this person can achieve the goal, right? Which the goal could be anything. The goal could be just being able to release the pressure of the emotional supercharge so that then the rethinking can happen in a different and from a different perspective.
Now, I want to talk about something that's a little touchy. There's a little bit of blurred lines there with the boundary.
Okay.
But I do think sometimes, and it is all about the delivery, it is all about the approach, but I do think sometimes to hold sacred space for somebody that you genuinely care about, sometimes you have to tell them something that isn't easy to tell them. Sometimes you have to say, I see this, and I say this with love because I'm concerned about you. And sometimes it can be a very fine line. But I'll tell you, there's a couple of times in my life where I can look back where people have done that, where they genuinely helped me see something that needed to be revealed to me. It's a fine line.
And maybe in that moment, the person doesn't receive it. But eventually they will receive it because it's the seed that you planted.
It's a seed that
the
you
seed
planted.
of acknowledging what is happening from a different perspective. Because when a person is in something, it's different from being in and then just looking at it from above. It's very different. The experience is very different.
Because it's
Very
not
different.
coming from a place of judgment. It's not coming from a place of fixing anything. It's coming from a place of genuine concern and love that this needs to be addressed because I love you, because I know you'll be better, because I know it will help you, not because I am trying to poke at you, right? And
Right.
we are at our second and final break before the end of our show. So we are going to head off to our break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to hold sacred space for everybody when we come back.
There you go.
How's that sound? Yeah. Yeah, it's a big topic, Marilyn. It's a very big topic, I have to say. But I feel like I'm kind of tippy-toeing around that topic as I'm talking about it. So, because I'm a very pushy girl. You know, I'm a native New Yorker. I got a lot of Capricorn. We can get shit done. Let's do it. And a lot of times I get like are you flipping kidding me, lady? You know, I can be a little overbearing in my enthusiasm.
I gotta say that I usually, when I'm holding sacred space for another, I usually am just simply listening to all that is being said, because for me, it's important to be able to give that space to that person who probably doesn't normally have it, who normally doesn't have all that's.
You know what I did, Marilyn?
What?
And I'm just so confused about our break time right now. Am I like in the right break time, or am I in the wrong break time?
It says 12:42, so I'm like, what?
Could it be any
Okay.
weirder? But that is our break time, isn't it? 20 after, 20 up.
Yes, 12:40. Yes.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah. You always get the real and the deal with me and Miss M. That's for
I'm
sure.
telling you.
We'll be back.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. ascendinghearts.com.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Coping 19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
With everything going on, there may be times you feel like you can't handle it all. Journaling, meditating, and talking with friends and family can help you feel more grounded and better able to cope. Your kids are also going through a lot of new experiences, and simply talking with them about their feelings can be quite powerful.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Welcome back to Shooting the Shift with me and Miss Marilyn. And It's so funny because I had all these thoughts in my head during the break, and then I forget every single one as soon as the music comes on, and I go, what? I got nothing to say. And then, of course, you can't stop me from talking, right? The thing is, though, there is something about, excuse me, the sacred space where we realize that it's important that we don't overstep. That was my point. It's like there's a fine line, and I think there's a finesse around that, and I can be somewhat pushy, and I've learned when to back off. Maybe not always. I'm not perfect, please. I'm a work in progress, of course. But sometimes someone needs to hear something.
Yeah, but the person needs the processing. And so when you're creating the sacred space, it's because you're creating a space for that person to process their stuff in a safe and protective environment. And that's what that's all about, so that they can hear themselves and experience themselves fully without any conditions. That's truly important part of holding sacred space for another. Asking what is it that you need, and then we can provide that. Not so much saying this is what you need, because we really don't know what they need. All we know is that we're here to provide them a safe and protected space to explore whatever it is that is kicking up.
Yeah. Well, you know, Marilyn, I think it's important also that sometimes we don't know what we need. I know for me, I know I have something to release. I know I have something I need to feel or process or push out. And that's where you come in. That's where, you know, somebody comes in and I say, you know, I need to shift this, but I don't know how.
Right. And a lot of times when you're going through the emotional surge, right? And you're saying something, or you're allowing the sounds to come out that needed to come out, they could be ancient. I mean, they could be there for
they
years.
Could be very primal.
And yes, and it's so important to allow that to surface, because sometimes that's where the stuck, stagnant energy resides. And it's almost like the cork, right? You just pop that cork, and there it is. Now things are flowing. And so sometimes, and sometimes it's just about being able to say, here's this person in the process. And we can always say something like, how do you feel? How did this experience feel for you? Did you feel like there was a sense of release? Where did you feel that release? is there a story attached to this? If there is no story being told, right? I mean, if it's just sounds or whatever. But if there's a story, we understand. We're listening to the story, and then we can just talk about how did that feel in your expressing those concerns or those pains or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, sometimes for me it's like I don't even need to know the why. I just know it needed to come out. Like I don't even need to judge it. It's like I know when something's left, and I also know with the holding space for me and allowing me to do that or helping me get it up and out of me, right? Up and out of me, that it automatically creates a space where something new is going to come in, that next level of growth is coming in because of the release. So sometimes it's not even like you said, it could be very primal, it can be ancient stuff, and it's really not even, it just needs to be witnessed and released. That's it. That's the purpose.
Sometimes a person has difficulty in screaming out, in allowing that scream to surface. And how huge.
You're not supposed to be.
Yes, and how huge.
Keep it down.
And that's a huge opening when you're able to allow that sound to flow out of you.
Yeah.
Because it's such a huge opening.
Yeah. My whole life as a young person, I was meant to shut up. I'm sure that's what some of that rage was about. It wasn't just about dyslexia. It was about, no, my little rebel was like, no, get it out of me. I have this rage and I want it out of me. I don't want it in me. And that's what that sacred space was about, the presence of letting it be released. And the world would not crumble, and the volcanoes would not erupt, and we would all survive unscathed, right? We're so afraid of our anger and our emotions. That's what I was trying to say.
And I always go like this, and I say, have your temper tantrum, sweetheart. Just have it. Allow yourself to release that energy. Yeah. Because when we hold on to that energy, just think about it. Think about the energy, the momentum that has, and that you are actually holding down, keeping it down inside of you. How could your life be, easy? How can your life be easy flowing when you're so busy trying to hold the dam down, from the waters having to come on up? You just keep piling and piling. It's too much work. I think it's just better. Just have the temper tantrum. Just go for it. And just allow yourself to, scream it out, shout it out, run it out, walk it out, do whatever it is that needs to be. And a lot of times I say sacred space is a beautiful thing when you have someone. And when you're doing that, it's the energy of trust, unconditional love, along with the feeling safe and protected and valued and heard. All of that is important when you're choosing a person. When you're choosing a person that you're going to be vulnerable with, you want all those kinds of qualities in that person. You want them to have your back no matter what. So this is somebody that you really love, that you really know that it's unconditional. I love you unconditionally, and I know that whatever it is that we're going to talk about will never leave this space, ever, because it's truly important. Now, when you don't have that, then you're very careful. It's almost like you're walking on eggshells, right? And you're just frightened about what you're going to say, how you're going to say it, when you're going to say it. You're holding back all of that. Just think of the energy all that it takes to hold all that stuff back. And to be able to have somebody in your life that you could do that with, that you can explore and say, I'm not worried about the eggshells right now. I'm just going to say what I need to say, and I'm not going to worry about it. That's so freeing. That's such freedom. That is truly freedom.
This is why I think in my 20s, I don't know about you, Marilyn, but I don't care. I'm just going to say, in my 20s, I did a lot of drunk dancing with my girlfriends, you know? And that was, you'd go to a club and you'd go and you would dance and you would have a few drinks and you were feeling no pain. And I think that that's probably what that was about in my 20s. It was an outlet for me to get stuff out of my body that I didn't know how to do. And I don't drink anymore. I haven't drunk for a long time, but I used to, you know, have a good time. And I'm having this light bulb moment now where it was a expression. It had nothing to do with being a sexual being or wanting mates or anything. It was going out with your friends and just having that wild, primal, shaking stuff up out of your body because I didn't know any other way. So it just was interesting how I just had that flash.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I used to hang out with a friend of mine who, I mean, we've been friends for so many years I can't even count. And we would either go to a club but usually it was like a bar, restaurant, and we would sit and we would eat and we would talk, and it was always about talking, and it was never about, you know, someone else. It was always about, this is our time. This is the time when we get to talk about the things that are irking us, or the things that are driving us crazy, or the things that are, you know, causing us to feel certain ways. And we did so much of that.
Steam, letting stuff out.
Yes, and we did so much of that. I have to say that when I would go dancing, I didn't do that too much, but when I would go out dancing, I was not that, I would love to dance. I love to move my body. I didn't know how to dance, but I didn't care. I was just having fun. Yeah, but I also knew that it was about the rhythm. It was about being able to release stuff, right? Yeah. You're releasing stuff. And at the time, I didn't know that it was me releasing stuff, but it felt so free. It felt so freeing to be able to move the body, you know, with the beat and the sounds of the music and the tones and all of that. So good. It was so good.
You right? know, I'm thinking of a dear friend of mine who right now she's suffering from you know, early onset dementia, and I miss her. She's still here, but it's very hard. And I remember once we were at the beach and we were standing at the shore, and we'd been on each other's nerves for days. You know, we'd just been in the rain in the cabin and, you know, the beach house, and it was just too much. And she goes, "This is not directed at you." And she takes the broom and she threw it. I don't know why she had a broom on a beach, but she did. And she threw the broom and she screamed at the top of her lungs, this primal, like, ah, scream. That's all she screamed. Yeah. And we both just busted up laughing and fell on our butts and giggled because we felt so much better. There had been so much tension and so much stupid and she changed the whole thing. It's such a great memory, you know.
And right, and it's so important to recognize the things that we would do and the things and how we did them. Yeah, I remember that I used to love to go to the beach, and I used to love to, and I still do. I never give that up. I love to go into the water, and I like to spin counterclockwise to release everything, and then spin clockwise to just pull all the wonderful beauty that is around me and the deep gratitude for all things. That's my dance. I do that when I go to the ocean, and I think it's a beautiful thing. It's finding those things, you know, like if right now there's somebody listening and saying, I don't have that. I don't have someone that can hold sacred space for me. Well, what I'm going to say is that we can hold sacred space for ourselves as well until the right person comes along. And the other thing is that when we feel that there is no one to hold sacred space for us, it's because we don't have the trust level to be able to be vulnerable with another, because there's been so much pain in our lives. And so it's important to be able to put yourself in a different energy and to put your desire of wanting someone energy. Yes, and wanting to put that desire out there for that right person to come into your life so that you can have that, because it's available for all of us. The issues are sometimes that we block them. Sometimes we block them with the fear of getting hurt because we say something and somebody puts it out, and then next thing you know, everything is like a snowball effect or a domino effect, and we don't want that experience. But what I say is, be your own person around the sacred space. And also, you can call in all the divinities. You can call in all the beautiful sacred ones to come and join you to shift this energy and to hold sacred space for you. They can hold sacred space for you.
Peace and blessings.
Blessings, love, and light.
We'll see you
Blessings,
next
love,
week.
and light.
Bye.
Bye.